the Barletta team at Ligris, and I am here with Cliff. He is the broker owner of Secure Realty Investments. Great to see you, Cliff.
Good morning. Good morning, Liz. How's it going?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So I'm super excited to chat with Cliff and for all of you guys to kind of get to know him more and learn about his process. So Cliff, if you want to kind of just give me the rundown how you got into real estate, how you came about to own your own brokerage, and sort of what's your story?
So my story is pretty much I've always been, hard worker. I had a W-2 job full time. I used to actually work for the sheriff's department. I did that for 13 years, but I wanted to do more. So at that time I was doing it. I got my license in 2015.
Mhm.
So for 5 years, I was actually working as a sheriff and I was working as a realtor. And I was the top agent in the firm I was working for before. And then finally, when I decided I wanted to make the change, I did my first flip in 2020. And then I had it on the contract. And then I had the brokerage set up and everything. And then I gave them my 4 weeks and never looked back ever since. So I'm thankful. Thankful to God first, thankful to my wife for always supporting me, and been open for 4 years now. And as you know, real estate is very versatile. The last couple of years been very tough,
Yeah.
but we've been able to survive and continue with our mission. And my whole thing is, treat everybody like you want to be treated. I use the sheriff's department as leverage because a lot of times there was people there that needed help. So I
Mhm.
liked helping people. So I became the real estate guy. And so I was able to start my own business just from word of mouth,
That's
and
amazing.
that's pretty much how, anything goes in any business you have. The impression you make on people will last a lifetime sometimes. So it's always good to treat people like you want to be treated, and it'll come back.
I believe that to my core. It's one of those things where this obviously there's a lot of realtors, there's a lot of loan officers, a lot of attorneys out there, but it's literally the simple things that really make a big difference. It's like that treating of respect, that always having sort of your clients back, and the word of mouth I think speaks for itself, because if you are, for the most part working on that referral base, that obviously means that you're impacting people's lives in such a positive way that they come back and refer their family and friends. And I love the history that you started with too, because I remember when we first met too, like some of the stories from the sheriff's department you told me about, so many cool stories, and like such a and that I feel like are jobs that you really get to know people in and out, really. And so obviously now that you're kind of their go-to makes sense, because you guys have been through a lot together, and those families and relationships that you made throughout your first career.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And you really have to connect with people. They have to feel comfortable with you. They have to trust you in order to hire you for, the most important transaction of their lives. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you really have to follow up, communication, everything, is key because it's about them. It's not about you, whether they're relocating or if they're doing sell buys. I work on both sides with sellers, buyers. I actually work with investors too. I'm an investor
Yeah.
myself. So it's important to actually have that experience to be able
Huge.
to share that with others because, a lot of people in this business, they do a lot of talking, but, you're talking and what you're doing, the actions have to matter as well. If you say
Right.
you're gonna call someone back, you call them back. Like you said, it's the little things,
Yeah. Well,
that
it's
helps.
interesting too, and I think that's the fact that you are your own investor too, and you've done flips, and you've obviously owned property. All of that contributes, I feel like, to people feeling comfortable, especially first-time home buyers who don't know anything or don't know what they don't know. For you to be able to walk into a property and be like, oh, I mean, I'm I'm not a visual person. Like I like HGTV, like everything's done. I can't see that type of stuff. But as
Right.
someone who's done flips, like especially how pricing is and rates and all of those things are today, first time home buyers are sort of having to kind of maybe consider a property that has to be a project. So
Right.
I'm sure that's been super helpful, that knowledge that you have, for those people too.
Yeah, definitely. We look at ourselves pretty much the company. It's a one-stop shop. You come
Mhm.
in, you get your real estate attorney, you get your lender, you get your home inspector. It comes down to the plumber if it comes down to that. And I
Yeah.
always believe once you're a realtor, always your realtor. So, people have called me, they closed. I remember I had a couple, great couple. They closed, hardworking couple. The wife was a nurse. The husband was, doing security, just working hard, working like two, three jobs. They closed, and then like a week later, it was in February, and their pipe burst.
Mm.
And they immediately called me, and I remember this call because I was in Florida. Me and the family were in Florida in our condo, and then she was like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. I have a frozen pipe," and I had a plumber that has done work for me in the past, and I just called him. I said, "Listen, my client has an emergency. Can you
Yeah,
can you help her today? I know it's a Sunday," and he went right over.
that's
And
awesome.
and it's all about the relationships that you build because good luck trying to get a plumber on a Sunday. Seriously.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's
So
huge.
I'll
And
go
that's
ahead.
that's part of like again, like you're using those people too on your personal level on projects and stuff like that too. So they have that. But again, I mean, I have to say that that's not necessarily the case for a lot of people, even if they use them on a professional level themselves. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to want to on a Sunday. But that go and help someone. But that's a tribute, I think, to sort of how you are with those people too, because you develop a friendship, you develop, they feel devotion to you in a sense, because you're a good person, and they, like the treating with respect and like how you want to be treated, I think translates to that too.
Yeah, my mentor always says how you do one thing is how you do everything. So everyone that I service, whether it's a client or I'm the client, if it's a plumber, I hire an electrician to do my flips. I always make sure I pay them on time, always take care of them. So they remember things like that. So when I
Right,
call them and I'm in a bind, they're more likely to be like, "Oh, it's Cliff. I'm gonna help him." You know
right,
what I mean? Because he did right by me. So it's
right.
just the right thing to do, like you
Yeah,
said, simple things and just being courteous and being mindful of people, it goes a long way, definitely.
awesome. And so on the first time home buyer route, like if you're meeting with a first time home buyer and like you walk them through sort of what the process is like, can you kind of explain what it's like, especially in today's market, what you're kind of like guiding them, in what way you're guiding them?
Absolutely. So I will not take out a buyer unless I have a first, buyer consultation. It says it in the agency disclosure. You're an attorney, you understand it. The first personal meeting, that's when you sign it. That's when you let them know what's going on. Because people, in this business, clients and agents included, people want to rush the process.
Hmm.
And I have my old trainer that always said slow is fast. You come to the appointment. I'll give you a PowerPoint presentation, very detailed. And I have this bad habit that I like to over deliver. I like to give a lot of information because I want you to know that I want you to be confident that I know what I'm doing and I want you to feel secure in making your decision to move forward. I
Hmm.
came up with the name Secure Realty because I used to work, at a prison. I was a sheriff, and then the lock and the key in the house. I just made it up.
Yeah.
So so I want them to, but it goes with everything I do. I want them to feel secure in the process. I want them to feel secure with me. I want them to secure the deal and ethically, morally, honestly. We know that. We need to do that. So we have to be able to explain to them how the process is and explain it to them thoroughly in a way that they'll understand. You know what I
Totally.
mean? So that's why I believe in the PowerPoints because, it's very descriptive and even, they're not going to understand everything the first day, but
Right.
they'll have a copy, you know what I mean? They'll have a folder and they can always go back to it and they can say, "Hey, Cliff, I don't understand page 18 about this appraisal process. Can you explain that to me?" And I said, "Sure, this is how it goes." You know what
That's
I mean?
amazing.
So, so you really have to like keep them informed. And I learned when I bought my house, I was 23. I didn't know a thing, and I felt lost. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that inspired me to start this business because I said I feel like I can help people and do it the right way.
That's amazing. It's amazing. I love all of this because the amount of agents that I know that, like you said, rush through that beginning and literally like somebody calls them, they're like, "Hey, we want to see this house." They haven't confirmed that they were pre-approved. They haven't even had a conversation. They just meet at this property, and it's like, how are you going to expect that this process is going to go smoothly? Your buyers, they may know something, but they may know all the wrong things, or maybe Maybe they had a neighbor who did things a certain way, and then you're complaining later about the fact that they don't understand, you know? So that's awesome. I love that. And I love that it's not only a PowerPoint, but it's also printed for them because I mean, from my perspective too, I'm a very believer of like meeting your client where they're at. And like, so in our process of like the negotiation of a purchase and sale, when we're sending it to a client, we're sending it to them, you know, the document, we're getting on the phone with them when they need it. We are also sending a summary to make sure that they understand what it is, like in legalese, but in like normal terms of like what's actually important. We're very big advocates of like videos and stuff, just because again, people learn things different ways. And the more ways that you can kind of adjust how you present information, the more likely your clients are going to understand what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and when you look at it, we're all coaches,
Yeah.
and we're coaching them through the process. And you as the attorney, you have a big role in it as well. And I've heard people say in the past, well, this agent I was working with said I didn't need an attorney, and I said, listen, you always need an attorney because attorneys like insurance companies, right? They cost
Mhm.
more if you use them after than if you didn't use them
Right.
before. You know what I mean?
Great point.
Like
Yeah.
I can't look up title. I can't look up if there's any probate issues.
Yeah.
Like that's what a licensed attorney can do in the state of Massachusetts. So it's very important. And in my consultation, I always point that out. I
Yeah.
have I have the emblem right there, real estate attorney, and then I have like the graduation, gown and everything. And I
Yeah.
said, listen, you have to use them when you need them, and
Yeah.
that's what they're there for. They're there to protect you. They're a representation of you. But I always say it's like me, but on steroids, because now the attorney is another representation of you.
Right.
And guess what? That seller's going to have a seller's attorney that's going to be protecting their best interests. So
That's
we
right.
need to be equipped with as much firepower as we have to protect you because everything is great until everything goes wrong, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's why our contracts at the end of the day end up being like 25 pages almost. It's like, it's not necessarily things that are always going to apply. The likelihood is none of it will apply or very little besides the price and the closing day. But like at the end of the day, if you don't have all the other contingencies in there and the other language, that's where we point to if there's a problem.
Exactly.
So what are you seeing out there? Because obviously the market is interesting. What are you seeing in terms of like from a buyer's perspective, like, are you seeing inspections? Are they being waived all the time? Contingencies, and how do you get an offer to win in this market?
So pretty much, I just got accredited as ABR, accredited buyer agency representative. So I learned a lot of things doing that, and plus my experience. It's all about negotiating terms. The price. Yes, the price is important. Don't get me wrong. It's still a seller's market. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's still a seller's market. It's hard out there. But if you're able to have a realtor on your side that can negotiate and find out what the seller really needs,
Mhm.
and you communicate with the listing agent and let them know, then your probability of winning is higher. I had a client, I just got him an agreement now, and we've been searching, I want to say for a good month and a half, and
Mhm.
we just been getting, you know, turned down, we're close. And I got to a point where I started going to the listing agents and I said, listen, how much is it going to take to get this offer accepted? And what are the terms? What do the sellers need? You know what I
Right.
mean? Because if you don't ask, it's like an open mouth, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you don't ask,
Right.
they're not going to tell you. So you ask the listing agent, and of course they have a fiduciary duty to their client. But sometimes you ask them and they'll disclose certain information that's going to help you to help your buyer.
Yeah.
So you just ask as many questions as you can, like how many offers are there? Now, if there's multiple offers, what do you tell your buyer? Well, you're probably gonna have to go your highest and best because
Right.
chances are there's multiple offers, so you have to bid as high as you can. Now I'm always telling them to keep in contact with their lender because the rates are changing, the rates are
Yeah.
higher. So we want to make sure that that number works for them. Okay. So it's constant communication. Like we're all coaches, the lender, the realtor, the real estate attorney,
Yeah.
even, the insurance broker as well. Like we
Yeah.
all need to make sure the numbers work, the taxes, all of that information needs to be implemented and, understood beforehand, not when we're past PNS and it's like, oh my God, Cliff, I can't buy this house. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we try to avoid things like that. And I see that with your company. You guys are very thorough, and that's the people I want to be in business with, people that take the time to actually take care of their clients, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And not rush the process. And, because again, if you treat people like, they're your family or how you want to be treated, they're not going to forget that.
Absolutely. No, that's I mean, it's interesting too, because I think, obviously with anything, I think, obviously this is like a sales role for all of us. We're all in sales is an aspect, but I've always found that I never really feel like the people who are successful really feel salesy, because they're just coming from like caring and wanting to help. So I always like surrounding myself with people that way, because that's how I try to make sure my clients feel that they're just being taken care of, kind of like an extension of family.
Yeah. Personally, I always say I don't sell houses. I'm not a salesperson. The homes sell themselves.
Right.
If a buyer comes in, they love the home, they're gonna say, they're gonna be like, hey, I love this home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not a person that's like, oh, you have to push them to buy this home. No, it's just, listen, if you're comfortable, if you're happy, I'm happy. And that's the
Yeah.
way it's supposed to
I love
and when
that.
people see that, it opens up the trust more. And you're able to dialogue with them, and they're able to tell you things that will help, because
Absolutely.
communication is everything. And if they feel like they're a little bit intimidated, they may leave some things out, and then that's how problems come in the future. And then you pass PNS, and then you're having issues.
Right.
So, as the buying process is very complicated. There's a lot involved. So, it's our duty to guide our clients so that they
Mhm.
can be successful.
For sure. So I would say, just to kind of end, what is like your number one either tip or best piece of advice for someone who's looking to buy a home this year?
So my best advice is get yourself, you know, coordinated with a realtor, and anybody that you have an interview with, make sure you look them up online, look up their stats, make sure they're getting good reviews, things of that
Mhm.
nature. You know, Definitely ask around people that are in the business, do your research. Do your
Yeah.
research. That's with everything. And that's my best piece of advice, because you want to start off on a solid foundation, and the realtor is the first person that you're going to meet. And if they connect you with their people, most likely, if they're solid, their people are going to be solid.
Right. Totally. I love that. I love that. A team and being prepared. I love the sort of phrase trust but verify. I think it's super important too, especially in this process, because there's just so many aspects and so many things that happen to get somebody from like just being interested in a property to actually buying that property, that there's so much you have to verify and make sure that all T's are crossed and I's dotted, and obviously to have a great experience having someone who can walk you through that in the best way, like yourself, is huge. So Cliff, I want to thank you for coming on today. And if anyone is interested in learning more about Cliff, obviously I'll tag him on everything. And best of luck out there, home buyers and sellers. Thanks,
All
Cliff.
right. Same to you. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Have a great one.
You too.
Bye.